All right, so this will be a quick video. So this is the automatic shutoff for a Viair air compressor. The specific Viair air compressor that this came off of is this one right here, which is my air source kit from Viair. This is a very, very cool product. It's a bit dirty. It's been in here for a while. Probably need to clean it up. But this is what provides air to the back of my truck. Basically this, which gives me the ability to use air tools or an air chuck to fill up tires, whatever I need to do back here. I have it going to a couple valves right here, a valve right here. I have a regulator right here so I can adjust how much pressure I'm putting out. It's all fitted all the way along the rail here. It's right above this camera that I have. This is my bedside camera, so if you haven't seen a video on that, you might want to go check it out. Basically helps me line up the goose ball whenever I'm backing up. And then it comes out of my Viair air compressor, or at least the air tank. This is part of their 2-gallon air source kit. This specific unit has a 200 PSI max. On-off pressure switch is 165 to 200, and flow rate is 1.86 CFMs. So this is a really cool setup, but the part that I've had to replace twice so far is the shutoff, and that's essentially this piece right here. It's wired into the power line going to the pump, and what it does is it shuts off at a predefined PSI. So on this specific one, it will shut off at 145 PSI, and it kicks on when the tank drops down to 110 PSI. So basically when this tank fills up to 145 PSI with the compressor, it'll shut off automatically. Then if this tank bleeds off air, or if I'm using the air in this tank and then it drops to below 110 PSI, it will kick back on and fill it back up to 145 PSI. Now, the one that came on here was actually rated much higher than that, but there was no scenario where I ever needed it to be that high. So when it went bad, I replaced it with this one. Now I'm replacing it again with the same product, just a brand new one. The problem is these things start to leak right around here. And once they start leaking, you can't hold pressure. Pressure will bleed off really quickly, and this pump is going to stay running all the time, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse over time. The good thing is these things are only about 20 bucks. I think the highest price I've seen them is about 25 bucks. So they're actually really affordable. And then the new one I've already installed right there. It simply goes in line with your power. So again, whenever it hits that level, it cuts power off to the pump. Very, very easy to install, very easy to replace. And this is about the only failure point I've seen on this setup. I really haven't had any issues with it. You can see some parts are starting to rust a little bit, but you know, it hasn't given me any problems. I haven't had any issues with it working properly. And quite frankly, it comes in really handy to have onboard air. And I like the positioning here on the side of my bed because it's tucked out of the way. It's not underneath getting exposed to, you know, grime and grit and stuff from the road. And it's even actually pretty quiet from the inside when it's running. You just hear a slight kind of humming noise going on. But I got it spliced in place. I just got to heat shrink those splices. But yeah, about every, I'm going to say 1.5 years, 2 years, this part starts to leak. And I'm sure the easy solution to this would be to let all the air out of the tank when I'm not using it and then just fill it up when I am using it. But it's easier for me just to keep this thing pretty much full. I have it connected to an upfitter switch inside of the truck, which I can simply flip on and off, and it turns on the pump or turns it off. And of course, once it hits its predefined PSI rating, which is again 145 PSI, it's going to kick off, and then once it drops to below that 110, it'll kick back on. But this is a system, a lot of people ask me for updates on how it's been performing. You know, the finish is actually still pretty good. It's just real dirty right now. I really never clean it. The only thing I do is I replace the filter right here probably once every 8 to 10 months whenever I think about it. But it's worked out really well, and I'm really happy to have this system. It's worked out perfectly whenever I needed to add air to the truck. I've needed to either add air to the RV or anything I have in the RV, or even run some really small power tools or fill something up when I'm out and about. And the way you test if this starts going bad is you just take some soapy water, spray it, and then you'll see bubbles form around it. And that just means that it's leaking air and the seal is starting to go out on it. So that's the easiest way to test. Soapy water will really let you discover whenever you have an air leak going on with something. And then real quickly, I gotta hop underneath the truck to show you this one. A lot of people ask me what the conditions of my airbags currently are, because I've had these in the truck pretty much since I bought the truck back in mid to late 2017. and the shocks. Actually, everything down here has been holding up really well. They're really dirty, but I haven't had any problems with them at all. And this is the airlift system. Works really good. Now, right inside here, you can probably see a real tiny air compressor. That's also a air compressor that's manufactured by the folks over at Viair. Super, super compact. I mean, it could probably just about fit in the palm of your hand. Very, very compact air compressor. Haven't had a single problem with it. I honestly thought, you know, after a couple of years, I'd start having some issues with that small air compressor. Let me zoom in on it. But I have yet to have one issue with this air compressor. I think with Airlift, it's rebranded as an Airlift product. But again, just no problems with it at all. It's filthy dirty under there, but it's worked incredibly well, as have the airbags. I mean, they inflate properly, they deflate properly, they hold air. It's given me a few really great capabilities whenever I'm hooked up to a trailer and I'm trying to clear like a curb or something and I'm off by like an inch and I need to raise the suspension up just a little bit just to be able to get the jack of the trailer to clear whatever I'm going over. But yeah, it has worked out perfectly and I'm real happy with it. So the airlift system has worked out really good. Haven't had any issues with the compressor. The shocks are still performing really well. They feel just like they did when I installed them, so that's always a good thing. And I believe they also have a lifetime warranty. And if you don't know, these are actually the shocks that I installed on my previous F450. So these have gone through 2 trucks. I actually had to replace the bushings here so they would fit on this truck. But yeah, these shocks have worked really well, and I've had plenty of suspension manufacturers reach out to me asking me if I want to put their lift kit on, or if I want to run with their shocks, or if I want to do a presentation on those. But the reality is, I found a good product and they seem to work really well. I haven't had any issues with them at all. They've held up well and they perform really well. No leaks, no problems at all. The finish looks a little bit dingy, but you know, anything under the bottom of a truck is eventually going to look that way. But check out that axle. That is one beefy axle. That is the replacement to the Dana S130 that my previous F450 had. This is what Ford went to on the 2017 F450s. It's actually the same axle tube that you get on an F350 dually, but the half shafts, which are inside of it, are significantly larger, as are the brakes. Very cool setup though. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this quick video. I just wanted to give you an update on some of this stuff, but more importantly, show you a little bit of the maintenance that I've had to do on the Viair that I'm using inside. So if you're wondering, yes, I do have 2 air compressors in this truck. One for the airbags back here, and then one that I can use for whatever I need to use it for. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.